Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 5 Minutes Podcast. Today, I'd like to discuss why many times do we ignore the obvious. And the reason why I want to talk about this blindness that many people face when seeing really obvious, evident things, it's because something like 3 or 4 weeks ago, PMI released the PMBOK Guide 7th edition. And in the guide, they released a set of 12 principles. And I heard many people, and I received a few messages about why they did that. This is so obvious. You need to take care of your project. You need to work as a team. And my answer is that it's not because it's obvious that you do it. You love talking about it. But do you really care about creating a collaborative team? Or you just want to talk about that? And trying to prepare for this episode, I saw a super nice book. It's called Willful Blindness from Margaret Haferman. And this is a 10-year-old book, but it's excellent. And it comes with some excellent examples and actions you can take to avoid this behavior. And of course, some of the examples are why, for example, so many investors did not realize the Ponzi scheme of Bernard Madoff. You know, very smart people, they didn't see that the obvious, that you cannot make 3-4 times more the money than another investor. And this be permanent. That should be something different there. But when people start realizing it was too late, people face this inertia. And then Margaret starts the book talking about some biological behavior. Because we are not able to know everything about everything. So our life, even if we don't act with our conscious, it's a filtering system. For example, we see many things and we filter those who are relevant to us. We listen to things that we want more. We want to listen more. For example, if you have several informations coming to you through your vision, through your ears, you will select and be far more reactive to those that express your well-being. So you will be far more happy and you will remember more compliments, people talking good things, because this is based off our well-being. However, when we face projects and when we face transformation, they are challenging. Many times we receive very, very bad news. And we don't want to see that. For example, we know that a project will be late, but we'll insist in keeping that deadlines until there is no way we can change them. We prefer to become blind to a delay in the supplier, or become blind that maybe we are producing something that has absolutely no value to our company, but we are just keeping moving. You know, this inertia, this natural inertia. And this inertia is this combination of this human behavior of selecting and filtering things, combined with our small decisions. Every single small decision you make, you start shaping your behavior. And one example that is excellent is about a river. Imagine when the river is just a flow of water. When you look at it, you see a completely randomic movement or randomic path. But as water comes in, and time passes, there is something like an erosion on that path. And then the new water comes and goes to the same path, and this becomes the river. Because the water that is flowing after that erosion is flowing with less resistance. So a small decision, a small thing that we just ignore becomes a little bit bigger in the future and we ignore. And up to a point that we become really blindness. You know, we become completely blind. And how do we avoid this? And this is, I'm sure that any of you that are listening to this reflection, you will have an example of that. That someone that said everybody saw except him, or accept her, or accept the boss, or accept the employee. So the first step I want to share with you is that To avoid this, you should work with the assumption that you are really blind. You need to say, okay, am I closing my eyes to that challenge? Maybe you should try to get this information from another sense. Not just your eyes, but your ears, your touch. You need to get this information. You need to understand that many times the information you receive, you need to challenge it. Am I being blind on receiving this and not taking an action? Did you see many times, this is a good example of this, is when you have this case of sexual harassment or any harassment, that the supervisor usually tends to say, no, this was nothing. This was nothing serious. And then you just let it go. And then next day, it's a little bit more serious until something happens. So you need to challenge. If you receive even a small thing, you need to take it seriously, thinking, am I ignoring something, some signal that I should not ignore? The second thing is break the silence and share mistakes. Nobody wants to share mistakes. If you do a mistake or if you fail, I need to tell you, most of you, if not all, will just try to hide it. Hide it. Nobody puts in the CV and say, oh, my list of failures are these ones. Nobody does that. You want just to show your perfect side. So when you break the silence and when you share mistakes, when you have an opening, knowing that your organization has a safety net for you to talk, then you will, I would say, remove the covers of the eyes of other people, and people can see things in a more clear way. And the third, and I said this many times, and most of the people say, oh no, you're just saying this because this is politically right today, correct today. It's hire people different from you, diversity. For example, I faced so many challenges and positive challenges during my 5 years at the UN because I worked with very different people coming from very different backgrounds, and they helped me to see my blind spots. They helped me to see things in a different way, and this is priceless. But if you have all your employees or your team that have the same blind spot, then it will be very hard for you to identify and ignore even when something is in front of you and you are not able to see. So hire this, foster diversity of thinking, foster people that think differently from you. These will reduce dramatically your blind spots and will help you to see and act on obvious things. So think about that always when you are making decisions this week, okay? Am I ignoring things that are obvious, that I'm talking but I'm not able to see and act? Think about that and see you next week with another 5 Minutes podcast.